Hello. Hello. Welcome. This is my friend, my sister, a kindred woman, Eden, and I'm so honored to welcome her, to welcome you into this conversation today. We've walked together through pregnancy and birth and postpartum and motherhood in tandem, um, but with very different experiences. And today we're going to be sitting in tea ceremony and talking about our journey, and what that's been like and how that's been, witnessing one another. Um, when I invited her into this space, I sent her a voice note, and one of the things that I described was this feeling and this visual of a sun and moon motif where we both went into birth and we came out, and Eden got to experience and is experiencing motherhood in a very, bright, sunshiny way with, a blonde, green-eyed, baby. And I'm experiencing more of the dark night of the soul and death and sorrow. And to be sisters and walk side by side while having such different experiences for me has been really profound. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
it's been profound for me.
I would assume it's been profound for you too. So today, before you have a chance to introduce yourself a little bit, I just want to share that we're drinking Imperial Grade Jasmine Pearls Green Tea, and it smells so good, and we have yet to take a sip, so we're going to go right into that and hear a little bit from Eden, and then we'll talk about our journeys together.
Well, firstly, thank you. Am I talking now, or we're going to sit first?
No, you talk.
Okay. Okay. Receiving your voice note, inviting me into this space that morning, I had pulled a card and it had 2 hummingbirds on it, and I thought of you immediately, and I just started crying, and felt and journaled that I needed to have a conversation with you. And so it was like an hour later, you sent me that voice note, and so there was something just in my heart that was just like, oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. And hearing your voice note of like, I'm just gonna assume that this is gonna be a yes for you. I was like, yes. It is a yes, like screaming while you're speaking. So I'm just grateful to be here and share the different perspectives and the different experiences we had of, yes, our experience, but also witnessing each other's experience and holding each other's experience, and having to be able to hold our own while also holding each other, and that, challenge of that from, I'm sure your challenges, night and day difference than mine, but to feel, just to feel each other in such unique and different ways based on our unique and different experiences. So I think there's going to be a lot of integration pieces landing just softly throughout the conversation. So opening myself to that.
Amazing. I'll take my tea. So throughout this conversation, we're going to be, at least the intention is to start from the beginning. Not too far back, but the beginning of, the year that we both got pregnant, and how that trajectory went, and how we kind of wove into each other's lives, and connected, and just the various ceremonies that we that we were present for, that we, you know, in the case of Eden, like you organized my blessing way and the red thread cutting ceremony, and then we both had a closing of the bone ceremony held for us, and that was night and day, sun and rain.
Yeah,
there was a lot of like, you know, layers there too, and so we've walked parallel in certain ways and with a few months apart, because Flora and Floyd, two flows, Flora and Floyd are 5 months apart, 4 months apart,
like 4.5,
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. November,
Maybe.
December, January, February, March.
Yeah.
So 3.5.
But yeah, 3.5.
months.
She's end of November. And
Yeah,
he's
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3.5 months apart. And
I know where to start.
Okay.
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
So what I had, you know, we had seen each other in various women's circles and stuff in the community. We crossed paths. Yeah. Because when I was moving here, that was when I met you, because I was going to sublet your place.
Right.
And we saw each other at one of Amber's women's circles at Fisherman's.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was really shy.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Me too.
I was like, she's really cool. I don't know.
And then we saw you and Jason at
Lagerfest.
Yes.
Yeah. Or Lager Days or something.
Yeah. And so we had like seen each other, and it's almost like we were orbiting and like kind of crossing each other's path a little bit. But then I remember when I was, well, we were both pregnant, but I didn't know you were pregnant at that point. But we crossed paths on the street, and I shared with you that I was pregnant, and the emotional reaction that you had, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, whoa.
I was so excited, and I had a pregnancy test in my bag. I knew I was pregnant, but I hadn't taken it yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's pregnant. And I like cried on the main street.
Yeah, and I feel like that was like a moment where we picked up the same kind of thread and we started following it together, and that felt like a significant kind of starting moment. And of course, I didn't know that you knew that you were pregnant and had the pregnancy test, so I was just like, wow, like, this is a really beautiful emotional response to this. Like, wow, this is really big. And so later on, getting to hear that story from your side and me being like, oh my God, I get it. Okay. It was just really beautiful. And then I actually was just looking back at photos, and I saw the screenshot of your held circle flyer. And so that was really what brought us even closer together in our experience. If you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I remember reflecting on what is it that I felt I needed in pregnancy, what kind of support, and I reached out to different, midwives and all these things, and there wasn't a midwife that I felt really connected to. In fact, I felt more like, ooh, that doesn't feel okay. Like that felt really bad actually, and then I did some reflecting, and I realized, wow, what I'm really needing actually is other women. Like, I just want to sit with other pregnant women and hear from them and talk with them and listen and pray together and be together and be support for one another. And so I created a circle in town called Held. And it was a space where pregnant women could come and pray, and each week we would kind of explore different things, whether it's fears that we had or our birth plans or our hopes, or just talk about whatever was coming up, really.
Yeah.
And there was a few women that would come, and it ended up being like a core group of like 3-4 of us that just really always met, and other people would
flow in
and out, but we were the regular core crew that would be together throughout that. And just, hugging each other and our bellies bumping.
Yeah.
And, just envisioning being, new mothers together. And you were, I think, the farthest along. Out of everyone.
Yeah, because when I got pregnant, I had 2 people I knew with children.
Right.
Not babies, just with children. And then all of a sudden it was like this cascade of pregnant friends
Right.
after me. And so, yeah, I think there ended up being like 7 of us in total. So,
yeah. And there was this big, pregnancy boom in town that I remember. And because my brother passed away and he was stillborn, one of my brothers, I remember having this thought, like, what are the chances that all of us are going to walk out of pregnancy with a living child? And what if it's me? And I just had this, like, dread in my body because I'm like, that would be the worst thing ever. Like, all of these women are pregnant, and what happens if one of them doesn't survive? And then you have all these women that walked pregnancy together, and then you have all these living babies that are constant reminders, like, that would be gut-wrenching. Yeah. And now I'm walking that, and it's difficult and beautiful and confusing. But our relationship has been such a teacher, and I don't want to go too far ahead because I have specific moments in my mind where I was like, it was so painfully poetic and beautiful after Floyd passed, and but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So we continued on. We were pregnant and doing all these things, and I remember bumping into you in the grocery store, and I remember Jason looking at me being like, oh my God, her dress is so beautiful. And I was like, I know. And it was this like long, like pink patterned tank top kind of dress, and you were, I guess, like second trimester-ish, because you weren't super big yet, and you were, and you felt good because
so I wasn't in the
puking.
Trimester.
You weren't puking, so you weren't in the first. And and so I just remember being together, and then your blessing way happened. Is there anything that you want to speak to before the blessing way?
No, just really reiterating how significant the held circle was for all of us, and in creating that kind of commonality and that space where yes, we were all pregnant, but we still weren't all walking the same paths. We were still having, really different experiences. Like your experience of pregnancy, you loved being pregnant. You were like, loved it. Yeah. And I was like that waddling, always in pain, like so exhausted pregnant woman that, I remember looking at you and being like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could love being pregnant that much, because it was just like this, like that glowing pregnant woman. That was you.
Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was like, I did love being pregnant so much. It was so, and looking back, I think how wonderful that the time that Floyd was alive got to be beautiful and got to be, full of joy and love and excitement, and I felt really good, and that was his experience in the womb, and that was my experience of him. Like, when I reflect and I look back on those memories, there's sorrow because I miss him, but those memories in and of themselves, standing alone, are really beautiful, and so we had very different experiences in pregnancy, even, and that circle was so significant, and just, then we kind of both found out, oh, you're going to free birth? Oh, you spoke to a midwife and that didn't feel good? So did I. Oh, and that didn't feel good. And, you're going to free birth. Okay, so what does that mean for you? Who are you going to invite anyone into your space? And talking about our ideas around birth and our understandings and what we were learning, whether it's from books or podcasts or courses that we were taking, and people that we've been speaking to, and sharing sharing knowledge, and I guess it wouldn't have been wisdom yet, but sharing knowledge, like what we were learning, and
like contemplations and musings. And,
yeah, totally. All of these things. And and we journeyed for a while together, and we just got bigger and bigger, and that's really how we spent, like, I guess, the summer and autumn months, because then Flora was born in November, so mid-autumn, I guess, right? And so your blessing way came first, and I remember crying so much.
Yeah,
I remember crying a lot, and but it was so beautiful. We washed your feet, and we, massaged, and we did drawings on your belly, and
we ate cake. We ate cake.
We
Lots
ate
of cake.
We ate so much
Cookies
cake.
and tea, and
we sang songs, and we did the red thread ceremony,
ceremony.
which would turn out to be very significant in my journey, and we'll speak more on that afterwards. But the red thread ceremony, I'm not sure what lineage it comes from. I think it originated in Mexico or South America, and the red thread is said to be a representation of the cord of life, and the umbilical cord, and the red blood that unites all women. Our menstrual blood, and the blood that we, offer our babies when we're pregnant, in the placenta, the blood that we shed in birth, and all of these things. And so tying this red thread around our left wrist, the feminine wrist, with each woman in the circle wearing that, it was a symbol of, like, we are with you in the birth portal. And I just got goosebumps, like, we're here together in this birth space. We are supporting you.
Yeah, I just had a visual memory of being in that circle and talking about, my birth approaching and what I was feeling. And I just remember Kaylee being like, as soon as we know, we're going to be like, yeah. And she, like, had her wrist with her red thread on it, like, yeah, you got this. Like, and that is really what that energy is. And it's that constant reminder, like, in that season, we had so many red threads on our wrists, and it's just that constant reminder of every time you look at it, every time you feel it, just sending love and prayers and just that energetic and spiritual kind of holding and communication and so many red threads that season.
Yeah, so many.
Yeah.
So many. I remember having a couple on my wrist, and the red thread is tied, usually a month, a few weeks before the like metric of the due date is coming up. And so, I remember having the red thread on, and I remember even at the blessing way, we talked about this a lot, like throughout the health circle, but I remember somebody asking, oh, do you think it's a boy or a girl?
Oh,
I think it's a boy.
And me getting so
angry. She got so angry. She was like, I'm having a girl. Stop telling me what you think I'm having.
That was something that really triggered me, because I was so, like, I just felt my daughter's spirit so clearly. I was, like, having dreams of her and visions of her little smile and like, just constant communication with her. And for years before I even got pregnant, and then of course when I was pregnant, and I was writing poetry about her and to her, and I was, like, just so solid in that. And so was my mom, that, like, when anyone told me, oh, I had a dream you had a boy, or I think you're having a boy, I would get, like, my body would just reject it and just be like, no, it triggered me so much. But
you did have a dream of one boy.
I did.
And you told me afterwards, and I thought I was having a girl. I dreamt that I had twin tan boys, and my best friend in Toronto she's half black, and she had twin boys, and I was like, this is weird. These aren't my children. Why am I, but you had a dream, and you journaled about it, and you told me about it after, like after Floyd had passed.
But it must have been a couple of months after, because it was just, I found it in my journal, and it was just like, oh my God, I completely forgot I had that dream.
Yeah. Could you speak to that dream a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember if it was me, like, in that experience of birth. It was just the birth of a baby boy, and he died, and I remember just being like, why? Like, I don't understand why, and just getting the message that this is just his path, and you just have to hold it and witness it, and there's nothing to do. Like, this is just what was meant to be. And I'm getting chills as I recall that. But yeah, and I remember having like some little bit of like fear in telling you that I had that dream. But yeah, like, and that was months before I even birthed Flora. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that photo saved on my phone because you took a picture of it and sent it to me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll include it in the description because it was really, it felt so significant because I had a dream about my friends' babies being born and being so confused about it. Because I was like, these aren't my kids. Like, I don't understand, you know? And then you had that dream and it solidified this connection. Because I remember in the health circle, we would sit and, you know, we would all kind of joke like, oh, we're in a women's circle and like our babies are in their own like healing circle together, you know? And I feel like he's still so connected to all of them, you know? I look at Flora and Trust and I'll look at them and I'm like, you see him, like you know where he is, like I feel like they talk to him all the time and they're just so connected. And it's just it seems like such a profound connection that they all have, you know. But yeah, then a couple of weeks after the blessing by ceremony, right? Or
it was just shy of a month.
Yeah,
it was just shy of a month.
Yeah. Then you went into labor, and I didn't know you were in labor. I just got a message.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone. So I was like I would say at this point, now reflecting, overprotective of my birth space. And like, I was super, like, did not even want anyone to know I was in labor beyond the people who had to know. You know, I didn't tell my family I was in labor. I did the same thing to them. Like, when my baby was born, I just sent them a picture. And they were all like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? And
can I ask, you're describing this as being overly protective of your birth space, looking back in retrospect. Do you know what was coming up for you, what your intention was with being really protective? Because I felt the same way. Like, I didn't want anyone to know. I just wanted to be grounded in, you know, me and my partner, and we're going in. And, you know.
It was like prioritizing that primal feeling of safety, and really knowing myself in how I respond to other people, and knowing that, like, I didn't want other people's fears or anything. And I recognize now after that, you know, being so protective also blocks out the support and the love and the prayer. You know, like, had I told my mom and my sisters and you and, you know, that I was going into labor, like, how much more love and prayer and holding energetically and spiritually would that have invited in, you know? And same with, choosing to free birth and it only being me and my husband there. Like, the way that I would do it next time would be drastically different, you know, because it was, yes, protecting that physiological unfolding and also cutting out any other form of support.
Right. Well, and protecting your birth space doesn't equal, it's not synonymous with not being supported and not having people there. And that's something like I noticed that I wasn't connecting with the types of support that I really felt safe in, that I trusted. I did initially want to have midwives and all these people there to anchor in support. But I mean, what I've learned is trust is built through relationship, you know? So you meet a midwife, maybe you don't feel comfortable right away, and your gut, you know, and your sixth sense or your, you know, whatever response is going off. But, you know, get to know them, you know, give time for there to be a relationship, you know, and yes, of course, listen to your gut feeling. And is it a gut feeling, or are you heightened because you're pregnant? Like what would happen if we approach this with curiosity? So you wanted to protect your birth space, and you went into labor on the 15th?
It was the 18th.
Wait, on the 18th? Oh, in the morning.
At 3 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I woke up from a dream about my husband's parents. And at that point, I hadn't even met them. I'd like met them on FaceTime and stuff, but I hadn't even met them. And then just felt like a squeeze of my womb. And I was like, ooh, because I've been having like kind of contractions, but they didn't feel... I could feel like the tightening, but it didn't feel like crampy or anything like that. And this was the first one that felt like cramp. And as soon as I stood up, I went to walk to the bathroom, which is like 5 steps outside of our bedroom, and my water broke. And it was like 3 in the morning, and I was like, oh my God.
What's happening?
Wake up. Yeah. And the first 6 hours of my labor were very like blissful and easeful, and I was like, I look back and I laugh about it because I was like, oh, like this must be how the women feel when they have like these blissful
orgasmic births.
Yeah. Maybe mine's gonna be like this.
Yeah. Oh my God.
No, it wasn't. And then the next 6 hours were very, very intense, and like so intense that I wanted to just break and cry, but I couldn't. Like there was no space for that because it was just like this constant surging and trying to find a comfortable enough, not even comfortable, but a bearable position.
So as you're laboring, what was I doing? I was in town, and I went to the local thrift store, and I got craniosacral done, and I was doing all these things, and I think Flora was born at 3:43. She was born at 3:43, and this day for me was really powerful because I knew that Eden was going to be giving birth, I thought, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because you gave birth at 37.
It was 38 and 6 days or something.
Okay. Yeah. Right. And so I expected you to go a little bit longer.
Me too. The night before I went into labor, I was like sobbing, being like, oh my God, I'm going to be pregnant for 2 more weeks. How am I going to do this? Oh.
Remember
I can't do it
that I can't do it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, oh my God, I want to be pregnant forever.
Yeah.
But I was going thrift shopping, and I just remember looking through a bin of baby clothes, and I didn't know Flora was born, or she wasn't born yet. I don't think this was in the morning. This was maybe 10, 11. So you're like,
I was in it. Yeah, I was in it.
And this woman comes up to me, and she starts talking to me about birth, and she's like, oh, are you pregnant? Because I wear this sort of stuff, and you can't always tell if I'm bent over, you know, but I'm looking through a bin of baby clothes, and eventually I stood up, and you could kind of see a bit of a belly poking through, and she asked if I was going to be birthing in the hospital, and I said nope. And she, you know, as per many pregnant women's experiences, people start projecting and telling, giving advice without I mean, without consent, but just like they're giving advice without us asking for it. And she starts telling me horror stories of her experiences as a paramedic. And she's like, I've seen so many women give birth at home, free birth, blah, 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 and it goes terribly wrong, and you know, don't do it. And she was just telling me story after story and saying many times, like, hey, I don't want to be pushing too much or whatever, but I just have to tell you. And you know, normally I don't, but I just have to tell you. And I felt so violated and so heartbroken. And I went and I left and I was like, excuse me. And I got her phone number for some reason. I was very like, my inner people pleaser was like activated and turned on. And I was so caught off guard. And then I went to go to my craniosacral appointment, and the woman holding that appointment is a friend of mine, and she asked how I was doing, and I just burst into tears and was like, am I making the wrong decision? I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. And I just had this whole process about it, had craniosacral, connected in with the baby, and the baby felt really good and healthy and fine. And I was like, okay, you're okay, I'm okay. You're okay, I'm okay. We're okay. We're okay. We're okay. And then I get home and I'm in the kitchen, and my partner Jason was, I forget where he was, but he knew about this experience with this woman, and he you know, I cried to him about it, and he held some really beautiful space for me. And then he was off doing something, and I'm in the kitchen, and I get a photo of Flora covered in vernix on your belly, cord still like attached. I think the placenta was still inside of you or something. And I collapsed, and I cried, I think, for 3 days straight. I'm not like, I couldn't stop crying. Like it was like I was eating and crying. Like it was just an ongoing thing that I couldn't stop. But I was on the kitchen floor bawling my eyes out, and Jason came in and was like, what happened? Did this woman message you? Like, he was so freaked out, and I was like, you didn't have a baby, it's a girl, it's Flora. And I just was in hysterics, and he was like, oh, that's great. Why are you I don't understand the reaction. But I was just so overwhelmed, and I remember being like feeling this experience in my body that I wanted to point the finger at this woman that I connected with, saying, see, you're wrong. That's a fear program. That's conditioning. You've seen only a handful, but look what birth can be like. It can go so well. It can be okay. Birth is natural. Our bodies are made to do this. And babies know how to birth themselves. Like, I was so convinced that, like, see, you're talking about fear. You're in the mind, but in practice, look what happens. And I have goosebumps just like thinking about the ignorance that I carried, because of course, how can, like, and recognizing too, and you know, honoring that I still carry ignorance, because I didn't birth Flora. I don't know what birth in the way that you experienced it would be like for me. And same vice versa. I don't know what it would be like to have a cesarean. And even if I do have a cesarean, or if I, you know, two women that have experienced a C-section have very different experiences of it, you know? And so it's not just a black and white thing, but I really thought, like, look, this is the reality, and that's fear. And my partner was like, yeah, totally. Like, you know, look, like, Eden can do it. You can do it. And all of these thoughts around birth, and in retrospect, looking at both of these, there is so much wisdom and truth in both what she said, because those were her experiences as a paramedic, and what your experience was birthing Flora, which carried its own, like, so many things, you know, some beauty and some difficult things, and you know, like, it wasn't just one thing. You know, not to put words in your mouth, but
no, absolutely. And you know, we also don't know if we had seen what that paramedic woman had seen. What would we say to women who were saying, no, I'm not going to birth in the hospital, I'm going to birth at home, or I'm going to free birth? You know, what would we say?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Probably not your body, like trust your body, trust your baby. It would probably be different than that, you know? Yeah.
And it's, I mean, and looking back and as you're talking and reflecting on this woman, I come back to these ideas that, I mean, both you and I studied the free birth, the complete guide to free birth course. I think, I don't even know if you finished it.
I kind of cherry picked my way through it,
Right.
Stuff that felt resonant and relevant to me.
Right. Yeah. And I remember going through it and even the content and the podcast that they have out. And I remember reading a lot of the content, and I don't know if you can attest to this or call me out and say, hey, no, that's not true or whatever, but I remember seeing a lot of like dogma and teachings, or just a lot of what they would talk about would be don't trust what the doctor's saying because they're conditioned in this way, they have this program, they're gonna try to force you into this, and then the cascade of interventions is gonna happen.
It's definitely that like villainizing the medical system.
And so even if a doctor were to have spoken to me, part of the doctrine that, you know, free birth circles put out is an innate mistrust in the medical system, and I understand why. I have a lot of compassion and empathy for why this is. I'm not anti-free birth, and I'm not pro-free birth. I am currently pro-educating myself and learning and curious about everyone's perspectives and wanting to hear various stories and like listen to anecdotal evidence. Like, what is there a really sacred, beautiful experience that a woman had with a cesarean? Like, does that exist? You know, and so, both you and I wanted to free birth, and we're walking that path, and educating ourselves in all these different ways. And then you did free birth with Florian. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on when it comes to your birth and some of those pieces?
Yeah, just I wanted to speak to that ignorance piece that I feel like every woman who's pregnant for the first time is ignorant because she's never walked that path before. She doesn't know the realities of what awaits her, regardless of what way her path takes her. She doesn't know, and it is in each step of the path that we start to learn and actually be initiated. And so, you know, reflecting, since I birthed her and since witnessing your experience, I haven't spoken about birth because I was so like free birth, like shout it from the rooftops.
All
I was
over
like
Instagram.
all over Instagram. Oh my gosh, like on my podcast and everything, and like I have archived everything, so you can't go and look, but like I would probably cringe so hard going back and looking through all of those posts. And at the same time, I was still very much like, you need to do what feels safest and best for you.
Right.
You know, so there wasn't this like free birth for everybody. If you don't free birth, I did have judgments of other women and mothers who birthed differently than me until I was birthing. And then I was like, oh my God, humbled to my knees. But yeah, I think that ignorance, it's part of the initiation.
Well, I was going to like offer an addendum too, where what mother is not ignorant, and no matter what a woman's birth choice is, no matter what anyone's choice is, but especially in birth, you know, we're constantly trying to choose what's best for the baby, what's best for me as the mother, and you know, as a pregnant woman, you are a dyad. There's this mother-baby being that is formed. You are one with your baby. And
Mm-hmm.
what feels safest for one woman isn't what feels safest for another. And what feels safe somatically does contribute to how a birth unfolds sometimes. You know, and things just aren't so black and white. But how can we not be ignorant? You know, we can choose to think critically and try to learn from different places. But again, if you have a thought that trumps something else, so a thought could be like, well, anything from a medical journal is going to be, you know, coded with projection and you know, like dogma, and they're trying to force you into doing something and psyop our bodies or whatever, then like, you know, that's not great. But it limits our ability to take in other information. And as humans, we also carry bias, and that's okay. You know, it's okay that we're humans and we judge. It's okay that we're humans and have bias. It's okay that we're humans and have these experiences. But yeah, birth is a very humbling journey. You know, no matter how it occurs, no matter if it's a surgical birth and you have a cesarean, no matter if you're, you know, birthing vaginally or there's forceps or vacuum or you're in the forest by yourself.
You transfer.
Yeah, you know, it all has such potent medicine. And I remember, after you gave birth and just feeling so moved, and I cut the red thread and I burned it in the wood stove with some cedar. I took a picture or a video or something. I was
you
like,
took a picture.
look, I'm crying. Like I was so like just, I was so overwhelmed. And and then I'm trying to even remember, I guess my blessing way started to get planned.
Yeah, I came up to visit you,
right?
And I asked you like, oh, are you gonna have a blessing way? And you were like, oh, I don't know. I was like, well, are you gonna plan one? And you said, am I allowed to do that?
Yeah. And I
And
remember I was like, I don't know. I don't like. I was really resistant, and I remember this feeling because my mom, when she had her, what is it, baby shower? She didn't want it. There was some conflict there, and arguments, and being in her womb, like I guess I picked up on it, and I was like,
there's an imprint.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want that, and I remember feeling something in my body and feeling like, ooh, I don't know, and then you left, and it was like 10 minutes went by, and I sent you a message or a voice note saying, I want a blessing way, actually. I actually do.
Because I was like, well, I can help you plan one if you want.
Yeah.
But, like, you decide if you want.
Yeah.
And, and then it was pretty, like, quickly. It was pretty quickly, like, I would say a few weeks. I can't remember exactly, but.
Yeah.
Because you were pretty late in your pregnancy. Yeah. Already at that point, so.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it would have been in January.
Yeah, it was January 28th. Yeah, it was like about a week after my birthday, and I remember being like, I'm not gonna have a birthday thing. This is fun.
Blessing.
Yeah, and I remember, oh my God, we cried a lot.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I thought we cried a lot at your blessing way, but mine, we were just sobbing, and like rain has been such a big piece of like, of just my pregnancy and Floyd's gestation and the ceremonies that took place. So the blessing way, it rained. It was a snowstorm the day he was born. The day that I got the memorial tattoo, it was pouring rain. The closing of the bone ceremony
changed to pouring
sunny,
rain.
And then it was raining. Like, and we'll get into that. But like even just water, like Angela's water broke in my blessing way. You know, like so much water was present. And it was really beautiful. Like we did the red thread ceremony. There was cake.
I made you the flower crown.
The flower crown. Like I think I cried from the very beginning. Like there was just so many tears, and there was 2 babies there that like were part of the circle. It was like, okay, third one. Let's, and you know, getting that going and and we did henna on my belly, and we were in this really beautiful dome in the forest, and there was like a little like wood pellet stove, and and songs, and again we tied the red thread ceremony to I think the song
Mama
by Sam Garrett. Yeah, and that song, like I would just listen to it all through my pregnancy and cry and cry and cry, and it's really begun to feel like a song that connects me with Floyd too. So that feels just really special and beautiful. And so we had that blessing way ceremony. I'm trying to think if there's anything that we were missing even in between.
Just when you held Flora the first time, like you came in and you just bawled right away, and I was like, "Do you want to hold her?" And you were like, and and I think Floyd kicked her.
Yeah, he did. I remember that. Yeah, he did.
And that felt really special, like little. Yeah, just like hey, I see you.
Hey out there. And that was just super special, and she couldn't stop crying. At my blessing way. Yeah. She was wailing, and you were dysregulated.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There was some dysregulation there, but I do remember because there was some like sisterhood conflict. And I just remember saying to like the sisters that were in conflict, and you were one of those sisters, I was like, this is a healing space. Like this blessing way is going to be a healing circle. We're going to, like, if you don't, like, whoever doesn't want to come, that's okay. But everybody came.
And it was a lot of energy, and it was also the first time I had like held any space after having a baby, and that was just so vulnerable, and then Flora wouldn't stop crying because obviously she's feeling me, and she's like, "What's going on? Why don't we feel safe right now?" And and then as soon as I shared how I was feeling, and I was like, "Is it okay that she's crying?" Like, everyone was like, "We're at a blessing way for a baby. It's okay if your baby cries." And Kaylee said something that I carry with me to this day, which was that Flora is allowed to take up space. And then as soon as I started crying and shared, then Flora stopped crying, and we could finally start.
But I remember even being like, looking back now and just thinking, what a reflection, like, Flora offered. What a reflection, you know, because there was like a severance in sisterhood even with some of the attendees, and there was grief present. And I just, you know, I've spent time reflecting on that ceremony and that blessing way where I was, you know, really like, wow, there was grief there. You know, there was grief present, you know, and Angela was farther along than me, and she came up and sat at like the like head comfy chair for the pregnant women, and she went like her water breaks like during like nearing the end of the blessing way, and it was just like, oh my God. And I just felt like you've blessed the space. Like I felt like, okay, I must be this is gonna be okay because you're blessing it. And I have I remember I brought this journal that I kept for Floyd, and I had different people write prayers for him in the back, and I'm still writing a letter to him that I'm gonna, I think, publish. But there's just all of these really beautiful, like prayers and things that I was gonna give to him, and just from so many people. I look at them a lot, and just, you know, I did burn one of them. I won't get into that right now, but I mean, and it's just, it was just really beautiful. it was really beautiful. And yeah, and I remember Florian came after, and we chatted and all of these things. And okay,
Part two.
part two.
Blessing way.
Blessing way. Right. Then the blessing way finished, and Florian came.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then after Florian, or after you guys left, I'm trying to remember it. Then I guess we went home, and
you had asked me if Jason, once you had the baby, if Jason could message me, and then I could message the women to cut the red thread.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, okay. Right. And then, so that was late January 28th or so. And then I went into labor on about a month after that, on the 28th of, so 1 month after, on the 28th of February. It was a leap year, so there was an extra day in February. And yeah, Jason and I had already decided, like, I'm going to, once the baby's born, you're gonna message everybody, like, again, feeling this protective energy. And not wanting anybody's like fears or projections or anything in the space. I was like, no, this is, let's not give anybody any concerns or whatever.
Before you went into labor, I remember messaging back and forth with you and just asking you how you were feeling, and you had shared that you and Jason had a ceremony and you moved through a big wave of fear together, and then you were feeling really good about it.
So I actually wrote this down. On February 23rd, I had a massive freak out. I was like, oh my God, is everything going to be okay? I was really scared, and I wrote it down in my day planner. And I wrote, like, quote, good things happen to me, blessings are my birthright. I'm allowed to receive and have good experiences, because there was this like fear. And then I wrote big emotions about loss, fear of baby being okay. Because there was this really big fear that, like, okay, is this all going to come crumbling down? Oh my God. Like, I remember when my brother died, and this massive hope, and then crash. Yeah. And at the time, because I shared this with him, and I shared this with him throughout my pregnancy and with a few other women, and the response that I was met with was always, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And of course, now when I share that, people say, like, oh, that was your intuition. I'm like, okay, well, of course, we're saying that now.
Yeah.
Whereas before, because of my previous experiences, it would make sense to say, like, hey, that's your fear. Yeah, exactly. So I remember moving through that and writing that down and just like crying, and then Jason going for a walk and saying, coming back. He sat me down and he was like, hey, the trees said that everything is as it should be. So everything will be okay. Don't worry. When in reality, the birth that I experienced was, short of me dying, the worst kind of birth you could experience. I tore in the worst way that you can. I was on life support in a coma. Floyd died, like everything that it all happened. I had to consent to having a hysterectomy, like all of these things. It was wild, and I didn't. I still have my uterus, which is amazing. But even having to consent to that was such a crazy thought process. When, I'm 3.5, 4 days now into labor, and I'm in a state of delirium, I have an infection. And yeah, it was just such a polarizing experience. Compared to, there's other women as well that I knew that had free birth before me, like just before me. And one woman in particular, like, she didn't have another option. Like, she couldn't have gone to the hospital if she wanted to, because she didn't, like, she had just come here, I think, from the UK, and like, you know, they didn't have the money to even be able to pay for what that would be, because she didn't have a health card, and you know, like, there was so many things blocking that, and I just kept hearing like so many amazing stories, and then I woke up from a coma, and it was a few days after, but I noticed that I didn't have my red thread, and I was like I can feel the sinking in my heart still of just like, where's, like, I just wanted that red thread. But while I think I must have been in a coma, you were contacted by Jason, maybe. You were right,
yeah.
And
I can
so,
share. Can I share my experience?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, because I remember telling Jason, tell Ursula to tell Kaylee and Eden.
Yeah. So it had been like it was time. Like, I knew that you were going to be birthing your baby any day.
Yeah.
And so
I was 41 and a half weeks.
Yeah. And so, and I remember, having conversations of you being like, Jason will message you because I'll probably just be like, we'll be in our cocoon, and like, And so I didn't expect anything other than Jason to message me. But I remember just feeling like, okay, what's going on? Like, she should have had her baby by now. What's going on? And it was like 9 o'clock at night. I don't even remember. Maybe it was on March 4th, because Florian's parents were coming to meet Flora for the first time the next day. And so it was, like 9 o'clock at night, and I get a message from a number I don't have in my phone saying, hey, it's Amy. I need to call you. Can I call you? I need to talk to you. And I was immediately just like, heart started racing, and I was like, okay, what's happening? And then I was like, I have that patterning with my family too, of just like, I need to call you. I need to talk to you. Just automatically being like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And so I was like, okay, I'm free now. And she was like, okay, if it's not too late, I'll call you now. And she called me, and I just remember like, just my whole body just felt so heavy and shaky, and she explained to me that Floyd had passed and you were in a coma. And on the call, like, I don't know how I stayed so like grounded and breathing, and I was just so shocked. And I got off the phone, and I don't think I've ever cried that hard in my life. And just feeling that, like, I just sobbed to Florian, and I was just like, does she even know? Does she even know? Did she get to hold her baby? What about her placenta? Like, being in the thrift store with you when you found your bowl because you were going to do a lotus birth, and like, just that, like, because my birth experience was so fresh, I felt that loss of like what you were hoping for, and just that like I just and I had to call 2 other friends because I was like, this is too much for just Florian to hold, because I was like distraught, and I couldn't even like see, because I was just this mother crying for another mother who I didn't know if she even knew that her baby wasn't alive. And so, like, you having that experience of just sobbing when, you found out that I had Flora, like, it was that night and day experience of me also sobbing, but for very different reasons. And I don't know if I've ever told you that. And like, so just carrying that, and I remember that was when you were not at the local hospital yet, and so I remember when you got transferred back, just being like, is she even gonna let me see her? Like, can I see her? And not knowing how to even, not knowing how to even show up at that point, just knowing that I wanted to. And,
you didn't tell me that. Yeah. So it's just so wild. Like even like when I remember this story and this journey, like sometimes it's more mental and compartmentalized and protected and like fact, like this happened, and then sometimes it's just this full remembering of like, holy fuck. And I mean, I remember, I got to hold him and all of these things. I felt his skin on my skin. I can still smell him, like, which is such a beautiful thing that I get to keep. Like, I get to keep his smell, and I get to remember that. And I woke up in a coma and wanting to know, like, when do we get to bring the baby home? And I had written, and Jason panicked a lot because I wrote, when do we get to bring the baby home? And he got scared because he was like, does she know? And then I continued on saying for the burial, and he was like, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to
break that news,
tell her, again. And I just, when I think back to being in a coma, like I just remember white. I just remember being surrounded by like misty kind of white. And I don't know if it's because I was oxygen deprived. I don't know if I was somewhere, but I felt him close, and I still, I have this feeling that like we were together and he was telling me something, and I don't know what he was telling me, but I just have this feeling like he was telling me something. And maybe one day I'll remember it. Maybe I will. Who knows? But while I was in a coma, you had a red thread cutting ceremony. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. It just felt really important to to hold you, not just because of your experience, but also because of the way that you held us, and us being the women that, were also pregnant at that time and attended the circle. And I just knew it needed to be bigger than just, okay, everyone, let's cut threads on our own. Like it didn't feel right to just sit and cut it by myself. And so, I hosted it at my house, and it was, another moment of that, like the sister healing space as well, like welcoming a woman into my home that we were in turbulence and turmoil, and hugging her and really being grateful that she was there. We made an altar, and we all just kind of also shared like how we were feeling, and there was a lot of that heaviness and grief and fear and just that shock, and then played a song, and we passed around the scissors, and I collected all of the red threads, and we sang prayers, and I actually read the poem that I wrote you. I read it there, and
before you read it, I just want to speak to this beauty and this power of this was a ceremony that I wasn't part of physically, and I've reflected on it so much, and I'm so grateful that it existed, and even though I wasn't there for it, like I didn't have to be there for it, but it was just a really beautiful, it was just a really beautiful thing to have happened, because it wasn't like a blessing way or baby shower or whatever. Normally, like there's something that honors. If there's a ceremony that honors a person, that person is there, provided they're alive. And this was just, so beautiful to know that happened. And,
So this poem that I wrote, just like, it was just a vision that I had and needed to write about. And there was fear. I was always fearful of like, oh my God, am I gonna hurt your feelings, or am I gonna trigger you, or like, is this okay to say? Is this okay to write? And it also was a season of like, sometimes, and let it be. Like, it's gonna be messy, and it's gonna be uncomfortable, and it's gonna be like, how would I know the right words to say? There are no right words to say.
Most of what I said in the immediate aftermath was, fuck it, just trigger me.
Exactly.
And like this poem, I've like, it's on my wall. I love it. Like I read it all the time, and I sit with it and reflect on it all the time. And the visual that you're going to experience as Eden reads this, like it angered me so much, because I didn't fucking want to be that woman. I didn't want to be that woman. I wanted to be the ones holding hands behind her. I didn't want to be that one. I was like, no, and even still, I'll come up with that, like, oh, like I don't want to be her. And I feel that less. I'm leaning more into this like acceptance and reverence for her, and like, okay, but it's okay that I am. It's okay, and it's not okay. But the not okay is, it's okay. That's allowed to be here too, and just welcoming that in. But I don't want to talk about it too much until you have an idea of what we're talking about.
But it was just this vision that I got that I couldn't not write about. Mother, medicine woman, walking a path frequented by few. You walk alone, and yet we stand, lined up on either side, heart and hand in hand. We gather to lend you our courage as you take another breath, another moment, another step. Keep going. The path is long and dark. May our love be soft candlelight to illuminate your way, should you stray and need reminding of where you are headed. Your beating heart is held in the hands of many as you traverse the underworld. Keep going. You shall return with your medicine pouch overflowing, wisdom keeper, mother of life and death. Not now, nor tomorrow, but you will return. And when you do, we will be ready to sit at your feet, to receive your stories, to heed your wisdom, and to celebrate your arrival into medicine woman and mother.
What is that? I don't see that one as much because it's on the back.
Can I read it?
Yeah.
My dearest Emma, may this poem be a lighthouse and serve as a reminder that even on your darkest days you are held. It is a privilege to know you, to witness you, and to hold you. You are loved so immensely by me and the community you touch so deeply, and I celebrate you in your initiation into mother and medicine woman. Your purpose here is big. The ripples are already being felt by so many of us. I am so excited to witness you as you step into it. You are powerful beyond measure. Thank you for being here. Your heart and medicine is needed. I love you, I love you, I love you. So you always say it 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember, so I'm home now. I'm out of a coma. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And you came and you brought that to me. Because I now had an altar of like grief and like sorrow and death at my house.
Yeah.
With his ashes and I remember, you brought that and I just couldn't stop crying and I don't even think, I think it was just you sitting on my bed.
I brought you that when you were still in the hospital. I brought you the first time I saw you. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you bring these on the same day?
No. I brought you that on when you were in the house, in the cabin.
My memory's not very good. Okay. So you brought this in the hospital.
Yeah.
But then you brought this when I was in the cabin. Okay. Yeah. I thought you brought those the same day.
No.
But
I brought that on the day that me, Kaylee, and Aviana all came together.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
And I was shy to give it to you.
And you were shy to give it to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, had Flora, I'm trying to remember, like, my memories, because it was such a traumatic experience, are very choppy and disjointed, and so, like, even doing this was really helpful to be like, what was the timeline?
I can share, like, my timeline of seeing you. So I saw you in the hospital in those first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I came a couple of times.
Yeah.
And like brought you soup and just like little bits that I felt like there's the cobalt and calcite. Like I brought you that
crystal.
And that was on the altar at the red thread severing ceremony.
You brought me like a bag of things, like offerings from the other women.
Yes. Yeah. I collected. Just different things that the women wanted to give to you, and I brought that to you, and I think that was when I brought that. That was when I first came and saw you. I brought everything.
I think you're right. Yeah, because there was also like letters.
Yeah.
And like poems. And stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think I collected at the red thread severing ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like people dropped things off, but and then it was probably a couple of days or so after you had gotten home that I came again and just by myself. And I didn't bring Flora in that time. I think it was the next time I came in. Yeah,
and I remember the next time, like one moment that really stands out to me is like you were sitting on my bed and you had said, like, oh, I think I need to feed Flora. I think I need to nurse her or something. And I was like, okay, you can bring her in if you want. And you were like, are you sure? Like, it was a lot of people were really sensitive around, like, are you sure? Is that okay? Do you want that? Do you not? Like, we'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, it's okay. And I guess Florian brought her in. And I think he was sitting on the floor. Yeah. I don't remember, but I remember us laying in my bed. Yeah. And maybe he left. I don't remember. But we were laying in my bed and you were nursing her and we were just crying and you just kept saying, it's not fair. No. It's not fair. It's not fair. And I think about that so often. Like very often. And I don't know why that sticks of this, like, it's not fair. And these were words that weren't coming from me. Yeah. You know, like this wasn't like my thoughts, my voice. This was you saying this. And I just remember, like, I don't know, it's in me somewhere for some reason.
Yeah, because that difference of experience, you know, you're experiencing all of your friends that have their babies, and you know, I was experiencing why you and not me. Yeah. why is my baby here but your baby isn't?
Yeah.
And that isn't fair. And you know, your mind tries to make sense of like why.
Yeah.
Why. It tries to understand. And so I was in that of like, what did I do in a past life that I deserve this? What did you do? Like, why is it happening this way? Why is this your path? And just trying to grasp at anything to make it easier to understand.
Make it make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and like the guilt and the grief of nursing my baby in front of you while you have milk that you don't have a baby to give it to, you know, like and just knowing that my experience, of course, not my exact experience, but like having that baby, nursing the baby, holding, changing the diapers, being up all night crying with my baby crying in the night, like knowing that every moment, you know, I'm having this experience, but you don't get to have it. And that didn't feel fair.
Yeah, even the hard ones. Even where it's like, oh, I just want to sleep. I'm like, how many times did I just want to be up all night because of a crying baby? And like, and having that contrast. And I remember women, you know, that had lost children that were able to speak to this from experience. They were like, how are you holding, like, how are you engaging with people? And my only guess or assumption was that I knew Flora before. So I had a relationship with her already. But I don't know. I also just wonder, like, I remember just thinking, like, I can be angry and scream and be upset, and that is safe with you. Like, that's okay. You know, there's no judgment. There's no anything. There's no trying to make it better. It's just, you can...
There's no trying to hold it together or, like, you know, I feel like my experience of you was you were just in it and you weren't resisting being in it.
Yeah.
You know, even though there was like I don't want this, fuck this, I don't want to be here, why me?
Yeah.
You were still feeling that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you were welcoming that in every circumstance. Like your birthday that year, you were like, your grief is welcome here. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's heavy, you know? And like, how much is it welcome? But like, also knowing from experience with you that like, it's welcome.
It's welcome.
Like, it's okay. Like, Florian do, like, don't matter. It's, you know.
Yeah.
And so the part of the birth plan that we were going to do for Floyd was a lotus birth. And a lotus birth, for those that don't know, is allowing the placenta to remain attached, and you have a bowl where the placenta sits, and you, like, you know, make sure that there's herbs and salt, and so it cures the placenta and dries it, and the salt absorbs all the water and the liquid and things like that. And then you change out the salt, and you put, like, you know, lavender and rosemary and other herbs
like
there.
Smelling herbs.
Yeah, like aromatic herbs and things like that. And then, you know, the umbilical cord will dry and fall off the way that it, you know, always does. But I was going to do a print of the placenta. Like, I had this whole plan, and the placenta ended up being incinerated, you know, at the hospital before I even had a chance. But Eden made this piece, this art piece for me, and I remember you were like, oh, whatever. And I couldn't stop crying. Like, it's forever on my wall. Like, I've told many people about it, and they're just like, that is the most thoughtful thing ever. Like, I want to get glass for it, just to keep it, you know, but I'll hold it and you can describe it.
Yeah, so, yeah, because we had sat in that circle and we had talked so much about our visions and what we wanted, and, you know, seeing you so excited about that bowl, like, I still remember that bowl, and, like, it was like a punch bowl, and it had, like, a second little bowl, and I was like, oh my gosh, and you can put, like, the extra salt and herbs in there, and, like...
Yeah, we saw each other at the thrift store when I found the bowl.
Yeah, and so I just remember how important it was for you. And I had my own experience with my placenta too, and made the placenta prints, and so I also, you know, was very aware of that what you didn't get to experience.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do something so that you did have your placenta in a way. And so I used all of the cut red threads from all of the women that had red threads from your blessing way, and I glued them all down in the shape of the placenta and veins, and then painted it, and had to add some dried flowers and everything. But and it's that frame Florian and I had forever, and it was just like sat in a closet somewhere for probably over a year. And I was always just like, I'll use it one day. And so, it just fit so perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just couldn't stop crying because it's just so beautiful and just so thoughtful. And it's like on my wall all the time. It's there, it's just a part of my wall, and just having those threads there of like, these are the women that, were together for the blessing way, that were together while I was in a coma. Like, there's just so much love in those threads and in the women that were connected to those threads. And just such a beautiful experience, and to receive that. And then over the next, I had a catheter for 7 weeks, so like I was kind of just,
oh my God,
like the whole healing process, and I was in and out of the hospital, and I'll share more about that some other time. But I remember there was a grief ceremony at the Fairy Cottage, and that was another really beautiful moment. And like, again, Flora and Floyd are this like connected whatever. She started channeling.
Yeah, oh my gosh. She was just full on. Oh, like we were sat in the circle and I had stood up to like soothe her a bit. And
we were all going around like talking.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but different people just sharing like.
Yeah, just prayers and words and
love and.
Yeah. And then it was silent. And then Flora, she would have been not even 6 months old at this time.
Not even, yeah.
And so she couldn't talk properly, but
she was getting into her sounds.
Yeah, and just started like speaking light language, let's say, and she was like looking at people in the circle as she was just talking and making sounds, and like it was the most beautiful, divine thing. And she said your name 3 times.
Yeah. So then she looks at me, and she's looking at me saying this too, which was the really weird thing. And she goes, Emma.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, weird. She's throwing that sound out. Like, did she say that? And we're all looking at each other. And then she looked at me and said, Emma.
Yeah.
Emma. And I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? And so it wasn't even just a one-off. It was like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And Floyd's born on the 3rd. Like, I don't know. There's also something of the threes there. Yeah. And so that was really powerful. And that whole ceremony was just really, it was really beautiful and connecting. And, and we all, there was some, gentle touch and more song. And, it was just a really beautiful experience that another sister, Amber, organized. And it was just a grief circle to like tend to me, and love on me a little bit as I traverse this, and just this reminder of like, there are people that love you, that care, that are here for you. Especially because, I described this earlier today with a couple other women, where I received, equal parts prayer and projection, and not even equal parts, I would say that there was definitely more prayer than projection, but I did receive projection, in the form of, text messages and conversations and letters, handwritten letters, but to have that circle was really special and so beautiful to really bring in that love and that holding. And I think that was before the closing of the bones.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that at least I really recognized throughout witnessing your experience was how we need to have these kind of spaces to hold the grief, because what I said was, it is too much, like your grief is too much for you to hold, and that's why we're here to help you hold it, to hold it with you.
That's another piece that really landed super, super deeply in me. Like, your grief is too much, it's way too much. And we're going to hold it with you, until you know how to walk on your own with it. And then on the days when you can't, like, we're still here. That was a really big, and it's been a piece that has stayed with me a lot. And following that, we had the closing of the bones. And I think you already knew Gemma.
Yeah, I met Gemma online.
Yeah, and she offered that to you, I think. And then Eden invited me into the space and asked if you could invite me, And so it ended up being a tandem closing of the bones. And for those of you that don't know, closing of the bones, I don't know the origins. I think it's South America, but I don't know. I know that there's different places that do various ceremonies for postpartum, but this one, the intention is that when a woman gives birth, her bones, her spirit, her heart, everything opens, and this helps to bring the energy back. And so there's guided imagery involved sometimes, there's herbs, there's wrapping the body, that's the most common, where like you're wrapping all the major centers, the head, eyes, I think the neck or the throat, the breast and the chest, the belly, the lower belly, the hips, the knees, the ankles, the feet, and so we did a tandem closing of the bone ceremony, which was really beautiful. I think there was 3 women holding us, and then we took turns holding one another, and Eden went first, and the main woman that was holding the space also had her baby there, so there was 2 babies present, and I brought Floyd's ashes as well, and you went first, and the sun was shining, and it was so bright, and so like you were crying a lot, I remember, and I was crying a lot, and
for me it was like the full, because although on paper my birth was quote unquote perfect, let's say, like on paper it was like, okay, your water broke, like 6 hours of early labor, 6 hours of active labor, 20 minutes of pushing fetal ejection reflex or whatever. My placenta came out 15 minutes after she was born. Like, it was all like check, 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 check.
Textbook kind of.
Yeah. This experience of that intensity rocked me still, as it does, and and I didn't have, it was like, the intensity was so big and so loud and so full front that there wasn't space for me to feel what I was actually feeling throughout it. But I had moments of like, oh my gosh, like, what if my baby comes out and she's not alive? And I know another woman who lost her baby after free birthing her, and so I was like, okay, well, if it comes to that, like, if she can walk that path, I can walk that path. But right now, I just need to get this baby out. I can't think about it. And so for me, it was this, like, somatic release and emotional release of all of that fear and all of that, like, like, fear that she wasn't going to be okay, that I wasn't going to be okay, and being held while processing that, too, because it was something that I kind of just didn't have the space to process in that, like, first, because I was around 6 months postpartum when we did the closing of the bone ceremony.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
it was almost a year ago, or about a year ago.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
now.
as
we're recording this.
Yeah. So yeah, it was still like emotional and intense in its own different ways. But my baby was in the other room.
Yeah.
Or the same room. I don't know if Florian was in and out with her, but
yeah.
But she was there, and the where feel your aura and like bring it back into your body and pull it back closer and and for me it was that being witnessed in the initiation of like, okay, you have arrived here in motherhood,
as a mother,
and being held and witnessed in that. And so that was my experience.
It was really powerful to hold that and witness that, and it was really emotional for me too. Just feeling that contrast, again, that like, and the stark difference. And then I think we took just like a bit of a break, like not very long, maybe 15 minutes to just reorient the space and ourselves. And in that 15 minutes, the clouds rolled in. And like your entire closing of the bones was sunny. And then the clouds rolled in, and then I laid down in the middle, and it just started raining, just pouring rain. And I was like looking at one of the videos and just seeing how heavily it rained, and I was like, okay, this feels right. This is appropriate. And and just the beauty of like, wow, okay, we're walking this together, and it sucks, because we wanted to go to the beach together with our babies, and, and I remember being bound and laying down, and there was a sash or a scarf or something under my hips, and one of the questions I remembered being asked was, is there anything that lives here? Are there any sounds that want to come out? And I was like, I need to scream. Will you guys please scream with me? Like I didn't get to have that vocalization after Floyd was born. Like I was, I was in a whole other altered sort of state, and I just felt this like thrashing and screaming, and I remember like kicking, I think, and like wailing, and then I let out a scream, and I think you and Gemma just looked at each other. Babies are both sleeping, and you like shrugged, and you're like, okay, and we screamed, all of us.
The babies didn't even acknowledge it.
No, and it was just, it was just really beautiful. This ceremony of, of like, okay, holy fuck, we're both arriving at mother, and it looks very different. How do we hold that? And enter in this kind of sun and moon motif of, what that looks like. And I remember even like last year seeing photos of you, I think in Chilliwack with the two, and she's surrounded by all these tulips, and she's nursing Flora, and I looked at these photos and I just burst into tears and was like, why is this not my fucking experience? I want this experience so bad. Why is that not me? And just like looking over and seeing, Floyd's ashes and being like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where and I hadn't had surgeries yet. And, like there wasn't even an option of like, okay, let's have a baby. Like I still had a big tear in my body, and like still had so much damage that like I wasn't even complete with, and I have a sister that actually suggested like, hey, it might be a good idea to have another closing of the bones, because you had like, the final surgeries, and I ended up being in hospital on Floyd's birthday, and it was not where I wanted to be, but it's where I needed to be, and it was very, it made sense to be
and
there.
You kind of knew you were going to be there.
And I knew I was going to be there, and I wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But I kept saying, I think I'm going to be in the hospital on his birthday. And then I was told, no, it's gonna be, in April or May or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I want this done. I want this done. And then I cried and called the hospital, and they were like, we can move it up for you. It's going to be either the 3rd or the 6th of March. And I was like, you don't need to tell me I know which one it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it was March 3rd, of course. But it's just these ceremonies, these markers, these circles that we've sat in throughout our journey together has been so powerful and important in my path of motherhood and and just the way that I'm, when I can show up to life, because sometimes I don't want to, and I don't. Mm-hmm. But being able to show up in, blessing way ceremonies and closing of the bone ceremonies and grief circles and having, red thread cutting ceremonies and things like that have it does something. I can feel like this opening here. There's more spaciousness in my rib cage. Mm-hmm. And just to walk this parallel path with you has been really, it's just been really profound to both of us show up to it. Mm-hmm. I don't think either of us have turned away that much. Yeah. And really like, hey, this is really hard, or hey, this isn't fair. Mm-hmm. And still here, still sitting together and still feeling like this isn't fair and crying and have that be okay, and just having the experience of the eye gaze shifting or the turning away is just so common when grief is so big, because how do you look at that? How do you hold that? And I don't have those answers. I don't know if anybody does, right? How do we hold?
Yeah, I remember I reached out to the woman that I knew who lost her daughter, and I just was like, how do I hold this? Like, what can I offer her? How can I support her when I have no idea what you're going through? Yeah. And that was really supportive for me to have, like, from a woman. Of course, like, her experience is still different from your experience, but having that same grief of losing a child, a baby, and having gone through the birth process and experience and come out with your arms empty, like, I just was like, I need to know what can you tell me that can make this easier, or not easier, because nothing's really going to make it easier, but just so I felt a little bit more equipped. And I remember going to her a couple of times and just asking her, like, how can I show up? And her guidance was really supportive.
Do you remember what she said?
Something that I really carried with me, which gave me the courage to, give you that poem and give you that placenta art, I'll call it, was that the darkness and the shadows and the demons are going to be really loud, and you needed reminders of the light, and through art and poetry and beautiful things. And so, like, I feel like I never showed up empty-handed. I was always like, I need to have something that I can give you physically, as well as my heart and my love. And that was something that, and then, of course, like, the postpartum stuff, like food and touch, and but yeah, just like the reminders of the light, and not in a way to bypass, but in a lighthouse way of, like, okay, I'm not there. Like, I gave you that painting, which made its way back to me.
Oh my God.
Which I now painted over.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to have this anymore. Like, so I
felt so bad.
I painted this painting a couple months before I got pregnant with Flora. And it was this, like, really dark, bloody tunnel, and it looked like it had like scratch marks through it, and then there was just this doorway of white.
It was so beautiful. It was really, it was like a tunnel.
Yeah.
Like I pictured like a train kind of going through it. Yeah.
And I painted that in just like an intuitive mushroom art paint night. And that was like my pregnancy felt like a darker season of my life. It felt like my identity was like ripped out from under my feet, and I was just like, oh my God, who am I? And just felt so lost. And I felt like I was really in that space. And at the grief ceremony, I brought it and I gave it to you.
Right.
And just as that like reminder of, yeah, you're in that dark tunnel and it's okay to be there. And there is light. And some days you might not want to even look at it. Some days you might not be able to find it. And that was also like the tunnel that I envisioned us all standing in, holding hands and having candles, and you like crawling on the ground slowly towards the light, and us just like, being there, whispering and singing to you. And and so I gave it to you as that reminder of the light.
Yeah.
And then Jason donated it.
Things got jumbled up, and then Jason donated it to a thrift store.
And then I found it in the thrift store.
So she bought her painting back. I felt so bad. She like, I got a voice note and a text or something.
I think it was a voice note.
Yeah, being like, okay, Emma, like, I don't know if I'm creating stories, but like, I'm just kind of hurt. If you didn't want it, it's okay.
I just wish you would have given it back to me.
I wish you would have told me. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I had no idea. And then I called Jason, was like, what did you do?
Yeah.
Like, did you do something? Like, I was in such a panic. And he was like, yeah, like, do you remember I asked you we were getting rid of stuff? And, you know, I asked you if you wanted these canvases. I'm like, that wasn't a canvas, that was a gift. Oh my God. I'm like sweating. Like, it's such a visceral, like, I felt so bad.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. And
but it was a good initiation for me to tell you, like, oh my gosh, this hurt me. Because I was like, I can't, like, our friendship feels so energetically clean for me that I'm like, I can't hold this. I can't be like, secretly have found this and not tell you, and not tell you, like, I left the store and Florian bought it because he was like, I can't just leave this here. And I was like, oh my God, like, what? Did she just, like, and then I was like, but it's okay if she didn't want it. Like, if it was just a reminder of, like, something she didn't want to look at, like, it's okay. It's okay.
Could you imagine, though, like, me going to your house and you not telling me?
And then it being there. I know.
Like, did you paint another one?
Yeah, like, right? So it was also, like, so divine. And it was a season where I also was, like, put back into that tunnel.
Right.
Of, like, more sisterhood wounding and stuff. So I fully trusted it. But yeah, I was looking at it like a couple months ago, and I was just like, this is done. And you don't need it. Mm-hmm. I'm painting over it. So now it's this like green and yellow and white. And so
Did
it's
you
like
leave the white door?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
good,
so
good.
it's like but it's like a burst of light is coming through the like center of where the white is, and so it's what I feel is it's that first look when you come outside and you've been inside like a dark room, and then it's just like this blinding light and you can't really see anything, but it's just like that like of like light coming at you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it needed a little transformation, I felt, but that was another thing that I was like, had the courage to give you.
Yeah, and I remember just crying seeing that too, because I was like, I don't see the light right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Like I don't,
exactly.
you know, and those little reminders, you know, like the reminders of the light, to me, it was not just the light around you, but the light inside. You know, like, hey, I'm gonna hold this vision of you, even when you don't see that, you know, because the guilt and the shame and the anger, like self-blame, all of that, you know, and like you're one of the voices that the other day, even I was doing the dishes and I got so upset and I was just angry at myself and I was throwing spoons and I was like, I'm not going to throw a plate on the ground because then I have to clean it. I don't want to clean up ceramic stuff everywhere. But I was just so filled with self-blame. I was so upset with myself. And I was just saying, it's all my fault, and just kind of going in this loop. And then I could hear like a collective of like 3 or 4 voices, like women in my field saying, no, it's not. And just this stable, grounded collective of sisterhood rooted in truth. And being able to see that when my vision can get rocky, you know, and confusing and and just having that pillar, you know, and I mean that's such a medicine of sisterhood is not just seeing the light, but then also being able to see one another's darkness and shadows and blind spots and calling each other out on like, you know, just there's so many layers there, you know.
Yeah, and that holding of the future vision, higher vision, like that we can see in each other when we can't see it in ourselves, I feel like is so important. And that painting and like these little lighthouses, you know, aren't there to bypass your experience, but it's that touchstone of like, okay, I'm not there, but that still exists. Yeah. Even though I'm here, that still exists.
Yeah. And it like, it mattered when you said, like, I see you, and it's not your fault, and just like all of these things. And there's certain women that like it really mattered with, you know, my friend Sam, who I'm doing Birth the Middle Way with, you know, my friend Zoe, my mom, you, Kaylee, like certain people that are just, they knew me, they walked this path, you know, like Sam knew me for 10 years, like you guys walked through the health circles, you know, like we had all of these connections, all of these very profound conversations where we talked about our hopes and our fears and our desires and what we were learning, you know, and really seeing where we were coming from, you know, and yeah, I mean, there's just so many layers of this experience and the projections that were, you know, thrown at me without me asking for them. And then doubting my own remembering of who the woman was that made those decisions, who the woman was that went into that, that walked that path, and, you know, and just trying to root back into truth. And that's something that sisterhood has really offered me, and that's something that you really offered me too, is that reminder of like coming back to truth. And so I just thank you. And I also want to honor our time. So it feels like we're starting to kind of come into this contained space. And I'm curious if there's anything else that is tickling at your tongue to share. Well, thank you for doing this. Amidst the technological shifts and things that happen, hopefully this turns out really well. And it just means a lot to have walked this path together, and you know, these ceremonies that we've been a part of for each other, and it just means a lot. You know, the poetry and the art, and just all of it. love you. I love you. I love you.
It's really beautiful to know, because sometimes I'm like, is it too much?
Does she
Is
love
it too
me?
much? Yeah. And like, you know, like I've sent you just a couple of songs at random times where I've listened and I've just been like, oh my God, Emma, send. And like, I sometimes have this fear of like, oh, like, will she receive that? But it's because it's in this like deep, heartfelt, like ceremonial way. And we've had so much of that depth. And so, yeah, it just gives me more trust to do those things, to send the song, to send the message, or to, you know, to just show up even if it's imperfectly. So,
and that's it. It's showing up imperfectly. I love you.
I love you.
Well, thank you for coming on Substack, for being here. And thank you for being here, listening to this, and being a part of this remembering of this journey so far. And yeah, just
And for initiating.
Yeah.
Yeah, just recount everything. Well, not everything, but
I love you. And so it is. Okay. And